vouch for me. You have to back me up on this or everyone's going to think I'm crazy. We have to find out if it's real or not. And Billy said he would think about it. That night when Tommy got home, he thought to ask his old man about those tracks a couple of miles east of town. As soon as his father heard the question, he flew into a rage. Have you been out there? Well, Billy, now don't tell me you've been out there. Well, Dad, don't you ever let me find out that you've been out there. Well, Tommy heard his dad, but he didn't really listen. Next evening, right about sundown, he was out there going to those tracks, and he convinced Billy to come with him. He had that same coin he had the previous night, and something else as well. It was a tin soda can he picked up off the ground. When they got out to those tracks, right about the same spot they were the night before, he put that tin soda can on the outside rail, took that coin, put it on the inside rail. And just like the night before, as soon as he laid that thing down, they felt that ground vibrating. They heard that rumble in the distance, and they turned and looked, and they saw that old-looking passenger train coming around the bend. As soon as it passed, Tommy ran up there, and just like the previous night, that $50 was in perfect condition, not a nick or a scratch on it any place. And what's more, that soda can he set right across the road, it's sitting right there where he put it. He turned to Billy and he said, Billy, it really is a ghost train. I mean, it rolled right over this coin 2 nights in a row, and the wind from a real train would have knocked that soda can off. It's a real ghost train. You know what this means, don't you, Billy? No, I don't know. What's it mean? Billy, this means we're going to be rich. Rich? What are you talking about? I said, Billy, everybody's going to want this story. Newspaper, magazine, TV, they might even make a movie about it. There's a problem with that, Billy said. I mean, it looks like a regular old train. If we take a picture of it, it's just going to look like a real train. I've already thought about that, Tommy said. Look, we know it's a ghost train, right? We know it really is. It rolled right through that can. All we have to do is get something bigger. Some solid object we can put on the rails. As soon as it rolls through that thing, we'll snap the picture. That'll be our evidence. What are we going to find out here that big, Billy asked him. I mean, this is too far to drag out something that big. I've already thought of that too, Tommy said. I know exactly what we're going to put on those tracks. I know what our solid object is going to be. Me. What? Are you crazy? Billy, just listen to me. I'm going to stand right there between those rails. You're going to wait over there by those bushes with your Polaroid camera. As soon as that train passes through my body, just like it did that soda can, you're going to snap the picture. That's going to be our proof. We're going to take it straight to the bank. Well, Billy shook his head. He said, I don't want to have anything to do with this. But even as he was shaking his head no, there was some little voice inside of him that was saying, why not? And it was that voice inside of him that Tommy appealed to. And sure enough, the next evening, right about sundown, they were back out there at those tracks, right at the same place. Tommy had that same coin with him. He considered it his good luck piece by this point. He walked up to those rails, set it down on the inside rail, and then stood up tall right between those rails. That train started coming as soon as he set that coin down. Billy was waiting off on the side where he was supposed to with his Polaroid camera. And through the lens, he watched as again that train rounded the bend. Through the lens of that camera, Billy could see the window of the engine of the train. He could actually see in through the window. And as the train drew closer, he could actually make out the features of the engineer's face. And he saw that it was a familiar face. How could he ever forget that one bulging eye? Tommy! He called out. He ran up to the tracks. But it was too late. It was too late. That train came barreling down the tracks, and it did not pass through that soda can. It did not pass through Tommy's body as it did that can. It sent him flying 30, 40 feet through the air. He came down hard. He landed like a sack of grain, his leg right across that rail. And when the train passed through, It severed his foot clean off of his leg. And then the train rolled out of sight. Billy was completely stunned. He stood there and he looked down at his friend. He was so battered and bloodied he was barely recognizable. But gradually, he went up to his friend and he just didn't know what to do. All he could do was stare down at him. And Tommy, there on the ground, raised his head up just a little bit. And then he raised his arm up off the ground and he pointed back down the tracks in the direction the train had just come from. And with his last breath of air, he said to his friend, "Billy, look." And Billy didn't know what to do, so he did what his friend asked. Slowly he turned and he looked back up the rails. And right there where that coin was, there it still sat, flattened against the rails. Within an hour or two, that place was crawling with all sorts of people. Sheriff's deputies, paramedics, media, and just curious onlookers. Billy was back out there to serve as a witness to what had happened. He was still in that kind of stunned state. He didn't know what to think about all this, but one of the people who was there was Tommy's dad. Billy felt like he should talk to him about it. He should tell Tommy's dad everything that happened, just the way it happened. But when he went up to him and took one look in that man's face, he knew that he already knew the story. "You know about the ghost train, don't you?" Billy asked him. "I know about it, Billy," Tommy's father said. "I know all about it. Let me tell you something. When I was about your age, some buddies of mine and I came out here. We were just playing around. I put a coin on those tracks and I stood over there in those bushes right about there. And I watched as that train came down the rails and went right off of them. I watched as that thing burned. There wasn't a thing I could do for those people. It's me they've been looking for all these years, Billy. It's me they wanted. And they got my boy instead." People don't talk about the ghost train anymore. Nobody's seen it there for a long time. But there's a new legend they discuss. People say that if you go out to those tracks, the ones a couple miles east of town, on any evening right about sundown, you can see the figure of a young boy limping up and down those tracks, searching from side to side. Some people say he's looking for his missing foot that was never found. Some folks say he's looking for that coin, that souvenir he never had a chance to claim. But if you ask me, I think he's just looking for his old friend, Billy. I think he's looking for a new adventure. And that's the legend of the ghost train from the Ozarks. Thank you very much.